Hey everyone, welcome back to Shadow Laughs. In today's video, we're going to explore one of the biggest questions in the MCU. Was Thanos actually right? Half of all living creatures, gone in an instant. Thanos called it mercy. The Avengers called it genocide. But what if Thanos actually had a point? Today we're looking at both sides of Thanos' plan. By the end, you can decide for yourself whether he was right or wrong. To understand Thanos, we first need to understand Titan. Titan was once one of the most advanced civilizations in the universe. It was prosperous, powerful, and filled with life. But according to Thanos, the population continued to grow while resources became increasingly scarce. Eventually, Titan collapsed. Thanos watched his people die. He watched his home disappear. He watched an entire civilization destroy itself. And from that tragedy, he came to one conclusion. Too many lives competing for too few resources would eventually lead to extinction. So he proposed a solution. Randomly eliminate half the population. No favoritism, no discrimination, no hatred. Just balance. The leaders of Titan rejected his idea. They called him insane. Then Titan fell. To Thanos, that proved he had been right all along. And Titan wasn't the only example that reinforced his belief. When Thanos invaded Gamora's homeworld, he applied the same method. Half the population was eliminated. Years later, Thanos proudly told Gamora that her planet had become prosperous. Children were well fed. Resources were plentiful. Whether he was telling the truth or not doesn't matter. What matters is that Thanos believed it. Every time he saw a world recover after his actions, his conviction grew stronger. He no longer saw himself as a conqueror. He saw himself as a savior. And when he learned about the Infinity Stones, he realized something. For the first time in history, he had a chance to apply his solution to the entire universe. Now let's look at the argument that makes Thanos such a fascinating villain. Because despite everything he did, his logic wasn't completely irrational. Overpopulation is a real concern in many societies. Resources are limited. Food, water, energy, and habitable land cannot expand forever. Every ecosystem has a carrying capacity. When a population grows beyond what its environment can support, problems begin to appear. To Thanos, the universe was simply a giant ecosystem, and he believed he was preventing a disaster before it happened. In his eyes, he wasn't a murderer. He was a doctor performing a painful operation, a surgeon removing a problem before it became fatal. What made his philosophy even more disturbing was that he applied it equally, rich or poor, strong or weak, hero or villain. Everyone had the same chance of surviving. He didn't give special treatment to anyone, not even Gamora. To obtain the Soul Stone, he sacrificed the person he loved most. That moment proved something important. Thanos wasn't chasing power for luxury or personal gain. He genuinely believed he was helping the universe. And that's what makes him terrifying. The most dangerous villains aren't the ones who know they're evil. They're the ones who believe they're doing the right thing. But here's where Thanos' logic completely falls apart. By the time he collected all 6 Infinity Stones, he possessed unlimited power. The Infinity Gauntlet allowed him to reshape reality itself. If resources were the problem, why not create more resources? Why not create new planets? Why not expand the size of existing worlds? Why not use the Reality Stone to eliminate scarcity entirely? The power was there. The opportunity was there. But Thanos never considered those solutions. Instead, he chose destruction. And that's why many people argue that his plan was never truly about balance. It was about control. His solution. His vision, his decision. There's another major flaw. Even if the snap worked perfectly, population growth would eventually continue. New generations would be born. Civilizations would expand. And eventually the universe would face the same problem again. The snap wasn't a permanent solution. It was temporary. All it really did was delay the problem. And the cost was unimaginable. Trillions of lives disappeared. Families were torn apart. Entire civilizations lost half their population overnight. That's not a cure. That's a catastrophe. There's one question nobody ever asks. If Thanos truly believed in fairness, why did he decide that he alone should choose the fate of the universe? Think about it. Thanos never asked anyone for their opinion. He never gave civilizations a choice. He never allowed planets to solve their own problems. He simply decided that he knew what was best for everyone. And that's the biggest contradiction in his philosophy. He claimed to hate selfishness. Yet he forced his own beliefs onto trillions of lives. To Thanos, the universe was a problem to solve. But who gave him the right to decide the solution? That's the question the Avengers fought to answer. Not because resources weren't important, but because freedom. The most interesting part of this debate is that Thanos had unlimited power. The Infinity Gauntlet could rewrite reality itself. Imagine the possibilities. He could have created infinite food. He could have created new planets. He could have expanded entire galaxies. He could have eliminated disease. He could have improved living conditions across the universe. Instead, he chose the simplest solution: eliminate half of all life. That's why many fans believe the problem was never the lack of resources. The problem was Thanos himself. He became so obsessed with proving his idea was correct that he stopped looking for better solutions. And in the end, that obsession became his downfall. But maybe the real question isn't whether Thanos was logically right. Maybe the real question is whether logic justifies suffering. Because Thanos saw life as a mathematical equation. The Avengers saw life as people. Tony Stark lost years with his daughter. Wanda Maximoff lost vision. Peter Parker died in the arms of his mentor. Clint Barton lost his entire family. Scott Lang returned to a world that had moved on without him. Black Widow sacrificed herself so that everyone else could have a second chance. These weren't numbers. These were lives. And that's what Thanos never truly understood. When Thanos declared himself inevitable, he believed the universe would eventually accept his solution. But Tony Stark proved something different. Thanos was willing to sacrifice others for his beliefs. Tony Stark was willing to sacrifice himself for everyone else. That's the difference. One believed saving the universe required sacrificing others. The other believed saving the universe required sacrificing himself. So was Thanos right? His pain was real. His intentions may have been sincere. But intentions alone don't make an action right. Thanos wanted to save the universe, but he never fully understood what made the universe worth saving. Now it's your turn. Was Thanos right, or was he completely wrong? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe to Shadow Laughs for more Marvel content.